You know, in education, we absolutely love data. We've got all this software to track scores, generate these neat reports. All of it is supposed to measure how our students are doing, right? It's supposed to give us a crystal clear picture. But what if that picture is dangerously incomplete? What if the very tools we built to shine a light on progress are actually casting a shadow over our students? And that, right there, is the big question we have to ask ourselves. In this rush to automate everything, to turn learning into numbers, have we accidentally traded away the human connection for a nice, clean spreadsheet? We're going to dive into some pretty compelling evidence that suggests our over-reliance on these computer assessments isn't just a missed opportunity. No, it's something much worse. It's actively and severely failing our kids.
Okay, let's really break this down. On one hand, you've got your automated reports, right? They spit out scores, data points, this kind of generic overview. I mean, sure, it's efficient, but it's also cold. It's lifeless. Then, on the other hand, you have real human monitoring. This is all about observation. It's about getting inside a student's head and understanding their unique thought process, gaining real personal insight. Think about it this way. The data tells you what answer a student gave. A great teacher can tell you why they gave it, and that's a world of difference.
So to really see what this difference looks like in the real world, let's move beyond just theory. Let's look at this whole thing through the eyes of an educator named Sean Taylor. His own story as a student, while it gave him a powerful and deeply personal take on this very problem.
Just let that sink in for a second. 6 years. 6 years in a system that was supposed to help him, but instead, it just made him feel worthless. Taylor was basically stuck in what he calls limbo, because the methods they were using just weren't getting to the real root of his challenges. They saw a problem that needed to be cured, not a kid who needed to be understood.
And what was the root of all this? Severe dyslexia and dysgraphia. I mean, for him, the basic letters we take for granted, P, D, B, Q, they were just a confusing, jumbled mess of squiggles. But, and this is the incredible part, it was that profound challenge that ended up becoming his greatest asset as a teacher. Why? Because it forced him to find a better way, a way to truly see the student behind the struggle.
And that's exactly what he did. His experience, it didn't break him. It didn't lead to despair. It actually led to a massive discovery. He ended up championing this incredibly effective, human-centered approach to understanding student progress, one that puts the actual child, not some data point, right at the heart of everything.
So what are we actually talking about here? What does this human-centered monitoring look like? Well, it's not just some fuzzy feel-good idea. It's a real, systematic process. It means you're tracking a student's growth in real time, but not just to get a score for a report card. No, you're doing it to get insights you can act on, like right now. It's the difference between spotting a problem on Tuesday and having a custom-built solution ready to go on Wednesday.
Now, for more than 25 years, Taylor's go-to tool for this has been something called the Brigance Inventory. It's basically a series of one-on-one assessments. And just look at the difference. A computer test, it might give you a single broad reading score. Johnny is at a 3rd grade level. Okay, what do I do with that? The Brigance, though, is what's called criterion referenced. That's just a fancy way of saying it doesn't compare a student to all the other students. Instead, it compares them against a clear checklist of foundational skills. So it doesn't just tell you a student is a poor reader. It tells you specifically this student struggles with blending 3-letter words. Now that is a problem you can actually sink your teeth into and solve.
But look, this human-centered method isn't just one teacher's passionate opinion. Not at all. It's actually backed up by some really powerful, decades-old research that makes a stunning scientific case for this whole one-on-one approach.
Way back in 1984, this brilliant educational psychologist named Benjamin Bloom, well, he basically figured it all out. He identified that the absolute gold standard of teaching was one-to-one tutoring. And he said the core challenge, the biggest puzzle for all of modern education, was this. How on earth do we take the incredible success of that individual instruction and replicate it in a classroom with 30 kids? And here's why he called it the gold standard. Bloom discovered something that came to be known as the 2 sigma problem. Now, sigma is just the Greek letter for standard deviation. It's a way statisticians measure how spread out a set of data is. And what Bloom found was that one-on-one tutoring produced a massive, a 2 sigma improvement in student performance. Okay, so what in the world does a 2 sigma improvement actually mean? Get ready for this. It means that an average student in a conventional classroom, someone scoring right in the middle,
at the 50th percentile, could perform at the 98th percentile if they were taught with these one-on-one methods. Let me say that again, from average to the top 2%. That is not a small jump. That is an absolute transformation. It means taking a perfectly average student and helping them perform better than 98% of their peers. It's a game changer.
All right, so the results are just mind-blowing. But the big question is, how do you actually do this in a real school? What does this look like day to day? Well, Sean Taylor developed a really clear, actionable blueprint for exactly that. His blueprint is a really deliberate 4-step process. First, you start with a global screening to get a clear baseline. You got to know where you're starting from. Step 2, from that baseline, you build a specific roadmap of goals based on the skill gaps you found. Now, Step 3 is absolutely crucial. You bring the families in. You make them partners by explaining the goals and the small measurable steps you're all going to take to get there. And only then, once everyone is on the same page, do you design a hands-on, totally tailored course of action built for that one specific student.
And that course of action, it can't just be worksheets. It has to engage multiple senses. You see, for a learner with something like dyslexia, the battle is really fought at the nitty-gritty level of sounds and letters. And Taylor argues that you win that battle by attacking it from all sides. You make learning visual with things like color-coded letters. You make it auditory by focusing on the rhythm and melody of language. And you make it kinesthetic, hands-on, with cool tools like sand trays and letter tiles. Suddenly, language isn't just marks on a page. It becomes a living, tangible thing you can touch and hear and see.
Which really brings us back to the heart of this entire approach. After all the science and the steps and the tools we've talked about, it all boils down to one simple but incredibly powerful idea.
And this is the ultimate takeaway. It is a powerful call to action to put the heart back into how we measure learning. It's a reminder for all of us to look past the label, past the disability, past the data point on a screen, and to see the amazing, gifted child that's waiting right there. It's about transforming assessment from a cold judgment into a warm partnership.
And so we're going to end right where we began, with a question for all of us to really think about. As our schools become more and more data-rich, are they also becoming human poor? In our relentless search for numbers and metrics we can chart, have we lost sight of the actual student sitting right in front of us? It's definitely something worth thinking about.